Viewers, good day. Robert Louis Stevenson, the author of Treasure Island, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and today I'm going to discuss about one of his another novel, Kidnapped. The name of this novel is Kidnapped. It is published a fictional novel in 1886, The Kidnap by Robert Louis Stevenson. Kidnap is an historical romance novel by Scottish author Robert Louis Stevenson, published in 1886. Stevenson was well known for both his travel writing and his adventure stories. Kidnap was his third novel, a coming-of-age story that follows the adventure of a young heir apparent after he is abducted and shipwrecked in Scotland. Famous for incorporating real-life events and people into its plot, Kidnap explores the themes of authority, treachery, and justice, and the duality of human nature as a protagonist. So the novel opens in Scotland in 1751. David Balfour is a 17-year-old with limited prospect. After his father dies, David learns that he has an uncle, Ebenezer Balfour, who owes Shaw's an estate near Edinburgh. He sets off with a letter of introduction, but when he arrives at Shaw's, he finds it a near ruin and his uncle a miser living alone. David hears from the local that his father was the elder brother and should have inherited the estate. Before he can act on his information, his uncle has him kidnapped and bound for slavery in America. The ship taking David to America makes its way around the northern coast of Scotland under the rough weather. On a foggy night, it runs down a small boat, killing all hands on board save one. That man is Alan Brick Stewart, a Jacobite agent on a mission to France. The Jacobites were the supporter of King James and his descendants after he was deposed in 1689. The sailor planned to rob Alan, but David warns him and joins him in a fight against the crew. In thanks for his help, Alan pledges his friendship to David and gives the young man a button from his coat. Alan tells David that Campbell clan is evicting people from his clan. The Stewart are out of their homes. The effort is being led by the Crown's agent in the region of Colin Campbell, known as the Red Fox. Soon the ship ruins around near the rocky coast of the Highland, and David is washed abroad and marooned on a small island. After surviving alone for 4 days, David escaped with the help of local fishermen. He learns that Helen also survived the wreck and left word for David to follow him. David travels across the Highland, using Alan's button to prove his friendship. Eventually, David comes to Appin, where he witnessed the murder of the Red Fox. Mistaken for an accomplice, David flees and by luck runs into Alan, who quickly takes David into hiding. The two go to Alan's foster father, James Stewart, who tells them they will have to flee south since they will both be blamed for the killing. James supplies them with weapons and money and sends them on their way. Allen leads David across the highland, narrowly avoiding British redcoats sent to find the fugitives. They come to a cave where they hide while they gathered information from Allen's friends and contact about the ongoing search. When they read the bill describing them, David realizes the description of him as so vague that he would never be identified if he left Allen. He cannot bring himself to do that, however, as the two have become close friends. They continue their flight, and David grows weary under the strain of constant travel. When they come to the hideout of a Jacobite named Clooney, David collapses into an exhausted fever and sleeps for 2 days. While he recovers, Allen plays card with Clooney and loses all their money. Clooney returns it willingly, but the episode leaves David resentful of Allen and ashamed of having to beg for the money to be returned. The two walk on in silence for several days while David's health and mood continue to deteriorate. At first, Allen is ashamed of himself for losing their money, but after David refuses to let it go, Allen's shame gives way to annoyance and he begins taunting David. The young man eventually snaps and insults Allen's honor, challenging him to a duel. Allen draws, but they can't bring himself to fight. David, realizing his childish outburst has lost him a friend, collapses and blames his outburst on exhaustion. Allen grieves at the thought of David dying and forgives all, carrying the young man to the nearby village of Balquhidder. The two spend a month in Balquhidder. David recuperates in a cottage while Allen hides in the hill. Once David recovered, the friends continue south at more relaxed pace since the search lightened while David was recovering. They come to the river ford when they find the bridges guarded. Allen has David pretend to be a disinherited young lord on the run from the law to attract the pity and assistance of a young barmaid. With her help, they are ferried to safety across the river. Now in the southern Scotland, Allen hides in the hill while David searches for his father's lawyer, Mr. Rankeillor. After David proves his identity and shares the story of his travels, Rankeillor agrees to help him secure his birthright. The two recruit Allen to pretend he is holding David hostage to get David's uncle Ebenezer to admit he wants David out of the picture. Ebenezer falls for the ruse and offers to pay Allen to keep David prisoner. Rankeillor uses the incident to get Ebenezer to turn over the Shaw's revenue David without a lawsuit. With his future and little title secure, David makes plan to smuggle Allen to France. He also learns of the execution of James Stewart and recovers that a great personal risk to give testimony. To clear Stewart's name, David and Allen walk together. One last time they stand in silence on the top of a hill, knowing they will likely never see each other again, and then they part ways in a handshake. So this is the story of Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson, a novel, a marvelous novel written by Robert Louis Stevenson. So it is no doubt a very outstanding novel with So we have a themes of this novel: the validity of diverse ethical position. David coming of age is tied to his ethical development. The novel charts his growth from a youth with a black and white view of right and wrong to a capable adult who has had first hand experience with moral complexity at the start of his story. He's a headstrong country boy, quick to judge and confident in his ethical and political position, as good a Whig as the village priest was able to make him. However, in the early episode of the novel, he is thoughtful and observant. As David makes his way in the world, he begins to emphasize with understand the diverse ethical position of the people he encountered. During the novel's second major episode about the convent, David comes face to face with his biases, recognizing that the crew, whom he initially thought of as unclean beasts, are man like anyone else. Beasts are man like anyone else, capable in equal part of kindness and cruelty, and he spent time with the sailor. He comes to understand that each class of man his own fault and virtues. David's friendship with Alan further stretches the moral institution of his youth. Alan is a Jacobite and deserter from the English army who carries both labels and pride. So this is the theme of this novel, Kidnapped, by Robert Louis Stevenson. And I hope you will enjoy this while you read this and you will go through the pages of this novel. Thank you very much.